They're like, oh, you guys have to leave. You have to turn around and go the other way. And my cousin was furious because this is already after an hour of driving. He says in Hebrew, Russian, Arabic, he's like cursing them out, saying, we're going to Tel Aviv and you're about to send us back to these murderers. We're going to run you over and kill you if you don't let us through. Basically like threatening them, if the terrorists don't get you, I will with the car. And they let us through. And it's like a white knuckle drive all the way to Tel Aviv. We're seeing huge black pillars of smoke all around us, to the right, to the left, in front of us, behind us. And I'm thinking, I'm like a nerd. I'm like, oh, some plants, when they're set on fire, they make a lot of black smoke. There's a lot of stuff that makes thick black smoke. I didn't realize it's people being burnt alive in their homes and their cars.
Oh my God.
People being tied up to one another and burnt in front of their families. That's what's happening. That's what's making the smoke. That thought is so extreme, it didn't even occur to me to think it.
Woo! We are back. We are back. Hello, everyone. Happy Monday to you, and welcome to Great Convos, where we always say, whether you agree or disagree, you can always find great convos. To those down south of us, I hope you had yourself a happy Thanksgiving weekend. And to our loyal listeners who are joining us, we are so happy that you're here. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. Please put a shout out into the chat. Let us know where you're coming from and just say hello. I'm Roger Caesar, and that gentleman over there.
Hi, Roger. I'm Alexandre Matt. Every time I listen to testimonies of the October 7th terrorist attack, it makes me shudder, and I just can't imagine what it's like to have been there live as it's going on. And today's guest, Shye Klein, lived through it. On October 7 in 2023, this is 2 years ago, the Nova Music Festival in Israel was attacked by terrorists from Hamas. One of the survivors was a 26-year-old photographer, our guest today, Shye Klein. And he's a photographer, and his camera is part of his healing and also part of his mission. So we're going to ask Shye, how does a camera help you to share your story? In other words, how is your camera a voice? Roger, let's just bring him online, bring him on stage. Please welcome Shye Klein.
Hello, Shye. How you doing? Thanks for being here with us, my friend.
I'm doing well, thank you, Roger and Alexander. It's I'm doing well, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here and speak with both of you.
Of course. Now, Shye, you've decided to use your camera to use pictures that you've taken on October 7th, but also since then. So we'll get into what you're doing concretely. Now you're currently in Ontario. You're in the Greater Toronto area. This is where you are from originally, but you did move in Israel months before the massacre of October 7th. Can you share with us how was life before that attack?
It was really nothing too special. I had a really casual routine. I just worked and enjoyed my day to day, seeing friends, hanging out, my brother, going out with my dogs, just and enjoying my day to day. And then in April 2023, after my birthday, which is the 2nd, I got myself a ticket to Israel as a gift, a 1-month trip to the country. I wasn't planning on moving. And then after I went there, maybe 2 weeks into my trip, I decided to stay permanently, and I immigrated.
Wow, a decision made very quickly, eh?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I have quite a bit of family in the country, so it wasn't a hard choice to make.
So, Shye, now you're living there. You've made the decision to permanently live there. Walk us through some of the experiences that you had leading up to that event, first and foremost. So now you are going there. Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. Coming to Israel, I did a lot for the first time. I'm not really a party person. It was my first music festival on October 7th. I'd never been to one before. didn't really have any interest in it, didn't really appeal to me. It wasn't really my scene. And so before October 7th, my cousin, he introduced me to, parties, technos, nature parties, raves out in the desert or, out in nature. Went to the beach every single day, basically. I basically lived on the beach. I never understood why my mom loved the beach so much until I came to Israel. I photographed the Tel Aviv International Student Film Festival. I photographed some musicians in Israel, saw some really great music, and I was just working on establishing myself in this place.
We heard you just before we came on. We heard part of your story. That is from the Toronto Mic'd podcast. We will leave notes in the comments so that you can go listen to the full conversation and have all of these details. So without going into all of the details of really what happened, can you, in a nutshell, tell us what's going through your mind as the worst attack on Israel and the Jewish people since the Holocaust is going on? And what are you doing with your camera as your voice?
After everything began, before the terrorists arrived, I'll do this like in a two-part answer. Before the terrorists arrived, I'm thinking, okay, all my friends are packing up our stuff. I'm going to take some photos and just see what's going on and see if I can help anybody out.
Right, because at this point, you don't know what's going on. You hear some noises and
I just know it's something bad. That's all I know.
Yeah.
I don't know anything specific. I'm not thinking terrorists. I'm not thinking murder. I'm not thinking imminent danger. All I'm thinking in my head is, wow, this is a lot of rockets. I feel like something bad is happening. That's it. That's the end of my line of thinking. And then it's just like, anxious speculation while coming down from MDMA and ecstasy and marijuana and recovering from alcohol I was drinking earlier. It was just, wow, something crazy is going on. I feel like it might be bad. I better keep taking photos because I can't leave until my friends are ready.
Mm-hmm.
And then after Hamas arrived, after we knew there was a terror attack and people are dying and it's all chaos, it was, I hope to God we get out of here. I don't want to see my friends get shot in the head. I hope to God nothing happens to my friends during this time that we're transiting from here to home.
Oh my God. Like, Alexander, we've had this conversation before when it actually, I think just a week after it happened, you were very, very traumatized by it, very emotional. But can you imagine what it would be like for Shye to actually be right there in the midst of it? In Shye, you're hearing all of this happening. You're starting to move. You're trying to find the people that you were with. You're moving away. Take us through those critical moments right there where you still don't know what it is. You know it's bad, but then what is the next moves that happen when you're on the ground there?
So that night I brought with me maybe like 3 rolls of film, and I'm shooting on a film camera, so I'm really limited in which photos that I can take and I can't take. So I already shot 1 roll of film that night before the attack. So now I'm down to 2 rolls of film. 1 roll of film is 36 photos, so I really have to pick and choose what I'm photographing. And so from 6:30 until Hamas arrived, I'm just seeing if people need a hand packing up their stuff, taking photos, periodically peeking over, seeing if my friends are done packing up their stuff. And it's at this time coming back towards my friends. I finished my roll of film and I'm coming back to my friends, and I hear off in the distance, like really, really far away, out of earshot, I hear the sound of gunfire, like machine gun fire. And then, okay, then the thought and the concept of, terrorists enters my mind. I come back to my friends where our stuff is packed up. We're ready to go at this point. It's about 7 in the morning, 7:20 in the morning. Really, it's not early, it's late. Many people have left already. Half the people are already gone. We're still there. And so we go to the parking lot. We're loading up our stuff in the car, getting ready to go. And then Hamas shows up. And it's at this point that we already decided I'm going to be the driver. So for the period of time when Hamas shows up, we get in the car, and then we are in the field being shot at, running from our car. I'm driving, and I'm in the driver's seat. So I'm not thinking of taking photos. I'm not thinking of my camera. I'm just thinking, get yourselves, get your friends and yourself out of there as fast as possible, and hope to God that you make the right decision.
Survive. That's it right there. Right.
Now, through it all.
1 second. I just want to put my dog out of the room really quickly.
Okay, yeah, no problem. I'm going to put in a. I'm going to show you a screenshot of Shye's website. You can see this at shyeklein.com.
Yes.
And these are some of the photos that you took before the attack. And it includes Dor Avitan. Now, you've taken photos of Dor and one other person who were murdered by Hamas.
Correct.
And can you...
of all the photos I took, I photographed 54. I met a few hundred people that night, maybe 100-ish, give or take. But because of my film, I didn't photograph everybody I spoke to. It doesn't make sense. So of the 54 people I photographed, 52 survived, which is amazing.
Wow.
Right. And the 2 who did not, you took those photos, and it's likely that these, for Dor, for example, this is the last photo of him alive, or at least of him having a good time.
Yeah, one of them for sure. Like, taken by me. Who knows if he took photos on his own phone or his immediate friends he was with.
Right.
Right. What did you do with those photos?
I developed them, scanned them, put them on my website, uploaded them to Facebook to find everybody. The first thing I did was find everybody that I photographed, because that was important to me. I didn't want to have to identify people who were passed away. After the fact, I included some specific images that I rotate with different images and videos in a 1 hour long presentation that I give to students and across North America, high school, college, private schools, camps, etc. I go to these communities, Jewish, non-Jewish, everything in between, and I share with them my own experience, and I show them these photos and give them a visual context and understanding they wouldn't otherwise get from social media. And I just try and have really good faith conversation in a bipartisan manner.
What's the utility of the photos rather than just sharing? In other words, why images?
Photos a thousand words. So I show Dor's photo, I show Ran, the 2 who were killed. I show photos from the beginning, from the middle, during our escape. I show photos of everybody who survived. I show maps with points of where we were, where we escaped, and where we drove all through. I got my GPS my GPS data so people can see the actual path we took to escape. I talk about some of my friends and what happened to them and their own experience, because maybe they don't have the ability to take time off work and come to talk about it themselves, or people just don't want to.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, for the theme of this year, or this season, has been that your voice has power. And we've had, whether it's guests that have come on the show and have shared their reasoning why their voice has power, or just conversations that both Alexandre and I have had. I want to ask you, given the fact that you are a photographer, given the fact that you took, even in one of the most traumatic times, you still were able to take photos, and you just explained briefly about how a picture speaks 1,000 words. But do you feel that your power in terms of the voice is what you're saying, or the photos that you capture, whether it was from this particular thing or other photos that you've taken, is that the version of power that you love using as your voice, or is it the words you say?
I think it's a combination of the two. Both of them will only give people so much information. When you hear someone speak, you can only imagine. When you see images with no audio or verbal dictation, you could only imagine so much. So, context that would be missing from one, I provide with the other.
Right.
Why do you do it, Shye? Why do you tour around the countries and speak to students?
It's a privilege to have a Canadian passport. It's a privilege to speak English, and I have both those things. I don't speak any other language. I understand some Hebrew, don't really speak much of it. I didn't have time to learn properly when I moved there. So being one of the people in this group of us, however many we are, whether it's 10 or 20 or more, I don't know exactly the number, but I know it's not hundreds. It's not hundreds of people doing this. It's maybe dozens. So, being able to be part of this group of us who's able to do this thing and contribute in a positive way to our community, to communities abroad and communities in the diaspora, it's a privilege, and I take it very seriously, and I enjoy doing it. And it also gives me some sort of not structure, but like it allows me to keep busy and keep myself occupied. So I'm not just sitting around with my own thoughts and thinking.
Is it healing?
I think it's healing, most definitely. It's also hurting in some ways, but it's about finding a balance.
Shye, have you ever had anyone been resistant to what you're doing? Have you had moments where people have said things to you that went against all the good things you're trying to do?
Not sort of trying to delegitimize what I'm saying, but I've had a few weird out there experiences. I don't know how to describe them because I just think these people are silly. I had one lady in New York. She came to an event of mine, and her question at the end was, don't you think you guys were asking for it, partying so close to Gaza? And I just responded to her, if your daughter is wearing a skirt and she gets raped, don't you think she's asking for it? It's the same thing. Like, what? It's 2025. Why are we still victim blaming in 2025? It's very strange. And then I was in a Christian university in Virginia, and I'm setting up my lecture, and a student walks by the hallway and he says Allahu Akbar, and this was on the 2-year anniversary of the event. So I go out in the classroom with my camera on my phone and I snap his picture, and he hears the shutter go off, and he comes up to me and he apologizes profusely, and his 2 friends are behind him and they're saying nothing. And I say to him, listen, I know you're a good Christian. I know you don't mean anything by it. You don't hate me. You don't hate Jews. You don't hate Israel. I know you're a normal person and you just said something ignorant. But do you know what today is? It was October 7th, 2025. He's like, no. I tell him, do you know why I'm here? He says, no. Do you know who I am? No. Do you know what I'm here to talk about? No. And I tell him everything, and I tell him, listen, I know your face. I have your photo. I'm going to report you to the faculty if you don't sit on my lecture. And he came, he joined, he sat in on my lecture. His friends did not. They tried to get him to leave, and they left, and they didn't stay. But he stayed, he sat, he was engaged, he asked questions, and he was even more apologetic after the fact than before. And so I told him, like, listen, I appreciate it. I forgive you, but I still reported the other students to the faculty and told them the situation.
The others who didn't show up.
Yeah, but that's like the worst of it. I've had one student who protested. She had a Palestinian flag. She sat on a bench quietly. I've been very lucky not to encounter much pushback, and I think that's because of how I do things. I'm not political in how I speak about this. I'm not telling anyone to hate anybody. And what I speak about is my own lived experience using photo and video evidence. Hard to give me any sort of pushback.
Right.
Wow.
Roger?
I mean, I'm just in awe right now. There's a comment here from someone who just said, thank you so much for sharing this powerful and heartfelt story. I mean, your courage is truly inspiring. And I think that is what it comes down to. You went through this. It could have been something where, PTSD, and you literally just went into a corner, but you've taken it and are trying to use it in a positive manner to share what happened, what you went through, and giving context to others so that they understand what happened and transpired in that heinous act that occurred. Shye, now it is 2 years later. You are still doing your remarkable work. What is on the horizon? What are you saying to yourself what is it that you look at and you're saying, I've got to continue to do to continue sharing what's been going on? I know I just messed that question up, didn't I, Alex?
I was just going to ask if you could kindly rephrase that.
How about this? Shye? Because you shared.
I think I understand.
The photos that we saw are of October 7, but what you're doing now is continuing to share not only what you've been through, but what other survivors are going through now. It's, it's not like October 8 is over, we survived, we're fine. So right. What's going on, and what are you doing since then to help yourself and other survivors?
Lots of therapy. Everyone does their best to take care of themselves the best they can. Even if they can't, they're doing their best. And I'm trying to help others. I met this guy at a Shabbat lunch early in 2025. I want to say like December 2025, like first half of the year. No, December, January, February. Actually, July 2025. My apologies. Yeah. And the second time we met. The first time we met at a lunch. The second time we met, we had this idea together. And he is the founder of a nonprofit called ESEK, which means business in Hebrew. ESEK.biz is the website, ESEK. And all they do is help Israeli small businesses struggling because of the war. So let's say you are a potter. You make pottery. No one wants to buy pottery in Israel anymore because it's so hard economically. No one can spend money on new dishes. Okay, so how do you make sales? ESEK will buy from you in bulk. They'll pay you. You'll make all your sales, and they'll resell it abroad and promote your business, your product. So what we did was I came up with this idea. I said to him the second time we met, I said, listen, I have this idea, and you're perfect for it. We can do this together. Let's help Nova survivors who are artists. Many Nova survivors like myself were artists before October 7th. Some of them became artists after October 7th as a way to heal. For many of them, it's their only source of income and only way of supporting themselves. So we figured out, okay, we'll curate like 10 or 12 Nova survivors. Each person will put forth like 2 or 3 pieces that they created, and we'll sell it abroad. We'll bring them some business and help them out financially. So we put that together, and it's going really well. It's really going well, and I'm very happy about that. I'm about to go to Miami tomorrow to Art Basel, which is like an art festival in Miami, to promote that even more. We actually just had our venue kick us out because they're anti-Semites, and we had to get a new venue, but it's all worked out. It was a little chaotic. And on top of that, I'm working on my own personal project, which I call Beyond the Supernova, because I want to talk about after, not the event itself, but after. Mm-hmm. And what my goal is with this, I want to do portraits of everybody who survived the Nova, who wants to participate. Not everybody by force, just if they want to be involved, they can be involved. And I want to have an exhibition of hundreds and hundreds of photos of Nova survivors and use it as a platform to talk about, mental health, PTSD, and recovery, because I think it'd be really impactful, opposite of the Nova exhibition where it's hundreds of photos of people who died at the end. I want to do hundreds of photos of the living, an overwhelming wall of faces, not multiple walls, not standalone framed prints, like a dozen of them. I want to do like one wall from corner to corner in just like an immense amount of photos.
Wow. And that's Alex, this is fascinating, right? Like, I think this is absolutely fascinating to hear, where you're taking this. I love it. Honestly, I do.
The battle is ongoing, right, Shye? I mean,
it's in more ways than one.
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm here in Canada, and I'm far away from all this, so it's difficult for me to really fathom completely not only what survivors went through, but what they are going through right now. So you mentioned therapy, and each person goes through it as they can. You've mentioned also somewhere else, I wonder if it's still relevant, safe heart, lev batuach.
Yeah.
Is there something to say about that?
They're the best. They are
Yeah.
the first people who had a therapist for me post October 7th, even before they officially got recognition as a nonprofit. They started out as students from Haifa University who wanted to help out. First, they were called Nova Help. Now they're officially a nonprofit in Israel, and they help over 1,000 Nova survivors with mental health care. Many of my friends, me personally, psychiatric care as well. And they're also doing groundbreaking, leading research on psychedelic substances and the treatment in which they help PTSD and the effects on PTSD, because of the Nova, you have a very large group of people who were on no substances, only smoking cannabis, only drinking alcohol. Maybe they only took acid or ketamine or ecstasy or MDMA, or combinations of all of the above. So they can pull control, they can pull this, they can pull that, they can do. There's a lot of research that's coming out of our community specifically, and it will help people globally. It'll help veterans, victims of war around the world, like in Russia, Ukraine, Afghanistan, Iraq, Sudan, Nigeria, Ethiopia. Anybody who needs mental health care. This is research that will go towards helping anybody who can benefit from it, and it's really incredible.
It's part of the Israeli DNA, right? Of helping people not only in your community but throughout the world.
For sure. Like one of my favorite nonprofits is IsraAid, ISRAAID, and they're a disaster relief organization. They're based from Israel. All they do whenever there's a natural disaster, tsunami, earthquake, volcano, flood, other natural disasters, they'll send teams out there to help in the rescue and recovery, like what happened in Turkey, like what happened in Japan, like what happened in Thailand.
Wow. Well, look, Alex, do you have any other things that you're saying? Because we are coming up against the clock.
We're out of time. We're going overtime, Roger.
Yeah, it went fast.
Overtime. Well, Shye, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence today, for sharing your opportunity. Yes, for sharing your story and talking about what you're doing post Nova. And the things that you're doing are incredible. How can people get a hold of you? Just to give your
So if you go to my website, which is you see my name on the screen is Shye Klein. If you just put .com, that's my website. On there, you can see my project Beyond the Supernova. You can see my photos from the Nova, all in chronological order. You can watch all 53 minutes of my video footage in chronological order. And you can also read my full testimony in length, which is far too wordy, but if you have the time, I recommend it, and it would mean a whole lot to me.
And
Alex?
if we're ever in the same area, Shye, can I book a photo shoot?
For sure. I'm in North America until February, organizing visits to different communities across the US and Canada. So tomorrow I go to Miami, then on the 8th of December, I go to New York, then I come back to Toronto, and then I'm figuring everything else out.
Great. Shye, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you both, really, seriously, and everybody else also for watching.
All right.
As we end another episode of Great Convos, as we always say to our loyal listeners, please continue the conversations wherever you may be. And we will be back next week where we will have yet another set of guests who will be joining us. It's a surprise. Let's just say they are pageant queens, and they are going to be sharing their stories of what they've gone through and who they are today and what they are doing since then. Please join us next week. Shye, thank you very much. And as we always say here on Great Convos, whether you agree or disagree, you can always find Great Convos. Thank you so much for joining. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you, Roger. Both of you. I appreciate it very much.
Bye-bye.